So welcome back students in this series of MERN technology. So in the previous video we have discussed about React forms, and in this video we'll discuss about React router. So routing is a process in which a user is directed to a different pages based on their action or request. So React.js router is mainly used for developing single page web applications. React router is widely used to define multiple routes in a single application. For example, let me open my browser, and if I search for react.org, now this is a single page application developed with the help of React.js. Now we have a navbar over here, and if I click on this docs, you can see the routing, the URL of that particular website changed. Next, if you click on tutorial, same, the routing changed. If you click on blog, community. But what if I say the website, the core website react.js.org, the core website is same, but only the components on the screen is changing. So in other technologies, we have hyperlinks. So we link one part of a website to another page or another part of that particular website using the hyperlink. But in React, we have routes, and routes helps us to connect multiple components or to assemble multiple components under a single page application. Now, this you can see is a single page application. This docs is a component. All the content you can see here is a single component. Next, tutorial is a component, blog is a component, community is a component. So we have 4 components, and with the help of routing, we are arranging these components in a single page application. So this is how routing will help you to create a single page application using the React.js. Now let's see how to create routes and how to use routing in the React.js application. For that, we'll need some components to create routes on. So let me just create some sample components. So I'll write down sample1 return h1 tag. So let me just copy this sample tag 1 or 2 times. So like this. So I'll write down sample2, sample3, sample4. I'll write down second sample tag, third sample tag, fourth sample tag. Next, now let me create a component. So I'll write down function routing test. Now in this routing test, I have to return a React router DOM. Now to create a routing, we have to import certain components from the React inbuilt library. So we'll write down import browser router from React router DOM. Also, we have to install this React router DOM. So we'll write down npm install React router DOM over here and click enter. So it will automatically install React router DOM. Now we can use that. So from this React router DOM, initially we want 3 components, which is React browser router. Second is routes, which is a collection of routes. Third is route. So browser router, routes, and route. Now let me come to the routing part. For that, we'll write down first of all browser router. And in this browser router, just understand the hierarchy. First of all, we have browser router, then we have routes, and in this routes component we can have multiple routes. So we can have 2, 3, 4, 5 routes in this. So this routes is the collection of these are used to define a single routing. So I'll write down. So there are basically 2 things. First is path and the second is element. The first is path and the second is element, which is common in between all the routing. So first of all, we'll put an empty path. So this is known as the empty path, or we can say default path. And next, in the element part, we'll pass, let's say we'll pass the form test. So we'll pass form test in the element. So let me write down the second path. So we'll write down second path test, and element we'll write down sample1. So our element will be sample. So sample1 is the component which will be route onto the path test. Now let me just copy this and do the same for the rest. Now let's save this. Also let me just change the routes. Test2, test3, sample test2, sample test3. Now let me save this. Also let's remove this extra one for the instance. Now in this React DOM router, now on this React DOM.render, we'll write down, we have to pass this routing component. So we'll write down routing test, npm start. Now you can see, so by default, as usual on the default routing, I am getting my entire name. It's basically a form that we have discussed in the previous video. Now what if I manually change the path to test? So you can see on the test routing we are getting, this is the first sample tag. Also if I check test2, this is the second sample tag, and if I enter test3, so this is the third sample text. Now so our routing is working and our different components are showing up onto the different routes, we can say. But what if we want to add a navbar or a list or a link on which I want to click and then I want to change the component? For that I'll use link over here. So we'll write down import link. Now to use that link, we'll inside the BrowserRouter just initiate unordered list item. So we have 1 2 3 4 routes, so we'll define 4 list items. Now in this list item we'll write down link. So link is another component which is used to link to a path. So we'll write down link to default routing, and let me say first, or yeah, let me say first. Let's copy this, repeat this for the rest. Now this will I write test, and here I write second. This will I write test2, and here I write down third. And this will write down test3, and here we have to write fourth. Now let's check this. So now you can see we have a list, and if I click on this first, the routing automatically changed. So when we click on the first, we come to the default routing. When we click on the second, again the routing changed and we come to the second component. If we click on third, the third component. If we click on the fourth, the fourth component. So this is how you can implement this thing. Also, if you want, you can add just a on the place of this unordered list, we'll pass down navbar. Let's save this and let's remove this list item. Now let's save this and check the output. So you can see we have a navbar over here which is currently not defined. So first, second, third and fourth, all the 4 routings are working perfectly. So in the next video we'll design this navbar and we'll create a short project onto the base of the topics we have discussed so far into the React.js. So this is all about React. In the next video we'll discuss a small project. We will build a small project with the help of React.js topics that we have discussed so far. So thank you for watching this video.